right? Okay, so let's get started. So today, I want to look at task 3C. Task 3C. I have got almost about 50 now on the responses. We have about 300 students, so about 50 only so far on 3A and 3B. So still 250 more to come on 3A and 3B. Some of you are outsourcing, so you're obviously not going to send it now. You're waiting till the assignment writers write it and send it to you. I know, right? And usually you will send it very late. Sometimes you won't send it at all. And sometimes you will send something completely different to what we have done in class, right? So please avoid that. Do your work genuinely. Learn something. I always tell you that. Be genuine, because it's about the transformation from within. It's not about the qualification, right? There are so many people who have got the qualification, but very few can practice what they have learned. That is because they have genuinely done the work. Okay, right. So now, last week we looked at 3A, which is the company background, secondary data, very simple task. 5 marks, that is a crime. That is a crime. 5 marks for that, right? You should score 5 out of 5 for 3A. 1 page. Beautiful presentation. I told you the examiner's requirements. Some of you have forgotten to put data, charts, graphs. So you have to look at what the class carefully, A grades carefully, what we've discussed. Don't miss a point. You can't miss points like that, right? And then 3B, we looked at the resource-based view. Resource-based view on stakeholder expectations. And interesting conversation. Many of you have done really, really well. I've given you so many A-grade answers. Unfortunately, today's area that we are going to do, market entry strategies, have not been tested before, so you don't have A-grade answers. So I thought there were A-grade answers, but I looked so many years back since assignment started. Assignment started after COVID, that is about 8 to 10 sessions ago. Before that, GMD was an exam. So I checked all the sessions, but we didn't have, there are questions on international marketing strategy, but not really market entry strategies, right? But don't worry about it. It's a very simple question. Only 750 words. It's very, very simple. You're going to leave a legacy behind so that the future students can see your answers. I will tell you what to write. Don't worry. Don't worry. And the beauty about CIM, guys, is there's no pre-designed answer. So the examiner will look at your work like the board of directors will evaluate a consultant's work, right? The examiner will look at your work like the board of directors will evaluate a consultant's work, because you're a marketing consultant. So there is no one best way to answer in CI. There is no one best way to answer in CI. So you can be creative, you can improvise, deviate, be original, creative in the way in which you answer. And I encourage that. Stay within the questions, stay within the assessment criteria. You can go out of the assessment criteria. That's also not a problem. You can go out of the syllabus, but stay within broadly the theoretical area. So I'm giving you a lot of recommended reading, and there's such a lot that you can use. So let's start with some of that. This particular book that I'm giving you on recommended reading is your core text. This is your core text, right? I'll show you this. This is your core text. Global Marketing by Sven Hollensen, 8th edition. This is your core text. This is the core text. Core textbook for GMD. Core textbook for GMD. I have put it on your classroom. The entire textbook, 8th edition, I have put it on the classroom, right? Now, I have taken the chapters on market entry strategies. So you have to, before you start answering the question, you have to try and read these pages. Don't read it cover to cover, speed reading. right? Know what is there. So it starts with some diagrams and all that, but then it goes into entry strategies. And there are 95 pages, as you can see here. This is not the entire book. Okay. This book has about 1,000 pages. I have only taken the PDF pages that are relevant to you. So it talks about market entry strategies. So can you see here theory, right? Entry modes, native rule, pragmatic rule, strategy rule. Now try and see whether you can cite some of these. This is according to Root of 1994, and you can cite Hollenson. Because if you don't cite Hollenson, then the examiner knows you've not even read the core text, right? So then there are little bit of theories that you can incorporate in your answer. Don't try to teach theory to the examiner. You have to apply theory like you are writing to the board of directors. So the terminology can be used with citations. Then the examiner knows what you're talking about. So you have these explained, some terminology, transaction cost approach. Then you have factors influencing international marketing or market entry strategies, right? So some of these you can use. If you want diagrams, some of these diagrams you can apply. But we have to answer the core area of the question, which is to select two market entry strategies. So what do you mean by market entry strategies? Let's make this simple, right? What do you mean by market entry strategies? Can you see now? This case study talks about how Zara used franchising and joint ventures. So you see, if you read what I've given you very precise areas which go deep into your answer. So now this talks about the case study of how Zara used joint ventures and franchising effectively to grow its business. As you know, Zara is one of the biggest retailers in the world today, right? So if you spend time reading this, so now this is your question, this is like your answer. Now don't select Zara and do joint ventures and franchising, okay? Because you are supposed to select two market entry strategies. How do you enter market? So you are operating in Sri Lanka. You want to go international. You want to go into another market or markets. What are the entry strategies you are going to use? There are many, but the examiner is asking for two, the best two. So to select the best two, you have to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of those two and how those two fit into your objectives of the organization. That's the question. So you have to talk about what are the objectives of your organization. Now, the problem here is I can't give you a very detailed answer plan because this is not the case study, no. So all of you are selecting different companies. So I can give you a structure of the answer, which I'm going to do. But first, I'm going to teach you some theory. Before that, I'm just taking you through references. I'm just taking you recommended reading, right? So how do you enter the market? There's franchising, licensing, joint ventures, strategic alliances, greenfield development, wholly owned subsidies, entrepreneur operations, piggybacking. I'll take you through all that. All that is there in my book, right? In one diagram. Okay. So I have simplified the market entry strategies in one diagram in my book, which you will not find in all the other books. Okay. So I will take you through that in the end. So if you look at this, it talks about many case studies of how many companies, including this talks about, right, Gisborne as well. Okay. And you can go through how these companies reading these case studies have gone international. So export modes, also there are sub-theories, indirect, direct. So don't worry, I'm going to take you through. I'm going to simplify this entire 95 pages in one diagram. I have done that in my book. I will take you. It becomes very, very simple. So you can use brokers, export management houses, trading companies, piggybacking. There you go, advantages, disadvantages. This is your answer. But you can't list saying here are the advantages and disadvantages. You need to apply it to your organization, right? And you have to justify why are those two modes the best two modes. Then you can use agents, wholesalers, distributors, company marketing subsidiaries. So these are a lot of market entry strategies. Now this says 95 pages. I feel this author has done a very good job, but I think I have done a better job in summarizing all this in one diagram. I'm repeating this so that when I show you the diagram, you'll understand, right? So this author has given a lot of substance in 95 pages about market entry strategies. So my job is to simplify because I know Sri Lankan market. When I wrote my book, I thought of you, my students, studying CIM and masters and all that. So I want to simplify theory rather than complicate theory, right? Condense it. So that is what I have done in my diagram. I will show you that it has all the market entry strategies, and then I will explain that. But I'm taking you through this because it is the core text and it has a lot of substance in terms of advantages, disadvantages, case studies of all the types which you can cite as well. I hope it is clear. So the discussion continues. Contract manufacturing, licensing, right? And there are so many. Can you see under licensing? Now, if you select licensing as a strategy, can you see the theory here under license? Now, my book does not have this. So this author has gone into in-depth describing what licensing is, talking about the pros and the cons, right? So that is very, very useful because you have a lot of diagrams. Can you see? Franchising, a lot has been explained, very deep, right? Including some diagrams, some case studies, then the difference between licensing and franchising, right? All that is there. Now, you don't have to worry about this. Some of you get scared of this. Okay, don't get scared because you're only select two. You're only select two. There are so many, you have to select only two. So don't feel scared, right? I am here to help you. But please do read as many as you can before you start answering and select the best two. Okay. So you can go through this in detail, what I've given you here. It has a lot of, can you see it continues 95 pages on market entry strategies, right? Your answer is basically inside here, but unfortunately, this has not summarized your answer. So I'm going to summarize it and give it to you. Then you'll understand. Okay. I hope it's clear. Now, let's go into another book. This is another good book on market entry strategies. Again, that Collinson book is more than enough. And of course, my book that I'm going to show you at the end. But this is another good book, Pearson publication on market entry strategies. Right? So it has many case studies. Here it has only 28 pages. So many advantages, disadvantages, examples of market entry strategies. So don't worry, you have a lot of ammunition. You have a lot of material, guys. Right? Then I'll go to another book. This is the third book I'm going to show you now. This has 32 pages. This is on international marketing, Carnegie publication. This also talks about market entry strategies. As you can see here, right? Many market entry strategies are being discussed. Again, with diagrams, examples, advantages and disadvantages, all that is there. But the problem with all these is they have not summarized all this. So I told you this so many times now. So I'm going to show you my book in the end. Okay. And that's where we start class. Right. So there's a fourth book. So information overload, don't get scared, because I'm now making you read deep on this area before you start answering. So then you have a lot of literature. Literature review is very important so that you have perspective. Your challenge then becomes, how do I keep my answer to 750 words? That then becomes the challenge, right? This is a Kotabe book, again on market entry strategies. So as you can see here, this is your answer. Your answer is here. Entire chapter. Here you go. All entry strategies and exit strategies are also there, which is your conclusion, right? So it has diagrams, examples, advantages and disadvantages, so many things that you can read up on. So trip on this, enjoy this. Okay, enjoy this. Now let's come into my book. I was showing off all this time, no, talking big about my book, right? Chapter 13 is on international marketing strategy in my book, Marketing and Business Strategy, right? Now, let me close some of my windows. Right. Now here, again, I'm talking about market entry strategies on 13.4, methods of international market entry, right? So this has international marketing, a lot of theories there, but you come into this diagram, methods of market entry strategies. Now here I've summarized, this is the summary. This is the summary of all those theories put in one diagram. Simplify. So if I explain this to you, let's first do the theory and I'll explain this to you. There is a note with examples for all. Can you see here? There is a note with examples for all, but I will explain it to you. There is a 3-page note with examples explaining all these points in my book. But if you take the other books, the Hollenson book, it has 98 pages in detail, going very deep into these strategies, right? So now I showed you the very broad picture of market entry strategies, scaled it down. Now I'm showing you a snapshot. Then we go into the question. Okay. Right. Now, market entry strategies, guys, in my diagram, I have captured many market entry strategies. In fact, all the market entry strategies. Right. Let me try and explain this to you. Now, before you enter a market, so please pay attention. Please pay attention, okay? This is theory. So before you enter a market, usually you do two things. Actually, you do 4 things before you enter a market, right? First is you conduct market entry analysis. You won't just enter a market, no? It's like getting married, no? Finding a partner. You won't just go and get married to someone, no? You'll do some analysis, no? You do some macro analysis, micro analysis, you do analysis, internal analysis, all the analysis, right? Now, you will do analysis. Then you will select a strategy. So these 2 areas are the strategies. These 2 areas are the strategies. Okay, we will go through the strategies. Question is on these 2 areas, right? So there are so many strategies here, market entry strategies, as you can see. So many strategies. You are only going to select 2. Examiner is saying, given your company, select the best 2 and talk about why it is the best. That's the question. Given your company, mention your objectives of the company. That's the question. Given the objectives of your organization that you have selected, explain why, right? You have selected the best 2 market entry strategies. So you have many to choose for. First of all, you need to know them. We have done this area, but I'm doing it again. We have done this area in theory, but I'm doing it again. Okay, I'll do it slowly this time. Now, the third thing is, how do you implement the strategy? What are the factors you need to consider when implementing your strategy? The fourth thing is how you exit. That's like signing a prenup before you get married. No, you think about the exit strategy also before you enter the institution, right? No, don't do that, right? So exit strategy in business, you have to think, if everything goes wrong, what is my contingency plan? That's your conclusion. So in effect, these two become your conclusions, the implementation and the exit strategies. So now, shall we go through one by one? Entry analysis. What is the level of control you will have on the market and the level of involvement? These are two keywords. There is a diagram here. I'm going to explain that to you. So you can have very high involvement, very high degree of control. Okay. If you want to have a high involvement, high degree of control, then you have to manufacture overseas. That's called overseas production. Got it? So if you want to have low involvement, low control, export from your domestic market. So can you see here? High level of involvement, high level of control, you have to manufacture overseas. And when you manufacture overseas, there are two ways to manufacture. You can invest, that is called with direct investment. Without direct investment also, you can manufacture overseas. We will go through that. Right? So you don't invest, you get someone else to invest. But you manufacture your product overseas. With direct investment means you invest and you manufacture overseas. So when you manufacture your product overseas, then it's a very high level of involvement. So you don't at once look at overseas production. You first go through these approaches to test the waters. And then if they are successful, there's very good sales receptiveness in the international market, then you go into high level of involvement, overseas manufacturing. But at once you don't jump here. That's a disaster. So first you look at domestic manufacturing and exporting. Again, domestic manufacturing, exporting, there are two types. Indirect exporting and direct exporting. Right? Indirect exporting and direct exporting. So indirect exporting is when you get someone else's help. Direct exporting is you do it yourself. Okay. So if you are a really small company, let's say a cottage business, SME, micro, you can't advance manufacture overseas. No. This is out. This area is out. Even direct exporting might be out for micro segment. You might first start with indirect exporting. So now think about the company you've chosen. If you're a very, very small company, then you will have to rely on indirect exporting. Right? And after some time, after you get it right, you will go into direct exports. After this also you get right, then you will go into manufacturing overseas without direct investment. And after that also you get right, you will go into with direct investment manufacturing overseas. Is it clear? I will give you some time for questions, right? Now, these are the market entry strategies. We have to only select two. So you have to think about strategy implementation. How are you going to manage your inventory, your people, your administration? How are you going to distribute your logistics? These are some implementation issues that you need to think about, which you can use in your answer when you're talking about the advantages and disadvantages. Then you have to talk about exit strategy. If everything goes wrong, we know Decathlon entered Sri Lanka. They exited Sri Lanka. So they had a sale, they had a closed down sale, and they exited Decathlon. Many have exited, right? Many have just gone. Some hotels have gone, hotel chains have gone, right? During the financial crisis, some airlines went away. So there are many companies who went away. One that we can think of a big investment is Decathlon, who went away, had a closed down sale, right? Gave everything away at low prices and went away. Thank you very much. Sri Lanka is not for us, right? That's during the financial crisis. They made that decision and went away. So incremental exit, migrate customers, divest operations, and sometimes you write it off and you assess the cost and write it off. It's not worth doing any of this. You just give it up and go away, right? So there are so many types of exit strategies, but that is not the question. The question is on market entry strategies. Given the company's objectives, what are the best two market entry strategies? Right? So now shall I go into explaining the market entry strategies? Right? Yes. So I'm going to, so Ilan, yeah, I'm going to explain the market entry strategies now. Right? Shabir, what do you want me to explain again? Please type. I don't know what you want. Right? Okay. So now I'm going to explain the market entry strategies. Right. So again, I only touched on the first one. When you are going into a market, you need to think about your profitability of the market and how do you repatriate your profits. Repatriate means how do you bring the money back into the home country? That is called profit repatriation. Nice thing to go overseas, nice thing to make money, but how do you bring the money back? Repatriation of profits. Maybe Sri Lanka, you might not want to bring back the money, but then if you're another market, you might want to bring back, right? Investment and payback period, time value of money. What is the payback period? Where will you break even? What is the investment? Risk reward. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. The timing, you need to get your timing right. Everything you do, you need to get your timing right. No, timing is very important because in business now, you need to catch the cycles, right? Seasons. You can see Apple launching their phones in September so that they can take 2 months and distribute everything for Christmas and New Year. And so timing is very important. If you launch it at the wrong time, then your products won't do too well. Structural attractiveness of the market. That's the Porter's five forces. Porter's five forces. Bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of customers, all that. So let's look at now the market entry strategies, because that's our question. Let's look at the market entry strategies. Are you with me? Right. Now you have to only select two, don't complicate it. Very simple question. So I told you if you're a small company, you will first only look at low risk, low reward. You'll start with basic exporting. That is also indirect exporting. Indirect exporting, right? You start with indirect exporting. That is, you don't do it yourself, right? You will get the help of someone. That is indirect exporting. Direct exporting is you will do majority of the exports yourself, but you're still manufacturing in the home country. It's not overseas production. Your production is domestic market. This is local production. This is overseas production. Overseas production, high level of involvement, high risk, high reward. But we have to be very careful. That's an important issue. Right? Right. So let's go through this. Firms born global. We call them born global companies or born global firms. Now, usually there are some types of businesses like if you are an mobile phone app-based business, where it's listed on iTunes and uh, you know, uh, whatever the uh, Samsung uh, app store, right? So you can anyone can download it. Anyone can download. So you're born global. You're born global at once. Of course, you can have country-wise restrictions to download apps. But if you're a website, you're born global. If you're a web-based business, you're born global, right? So there are some businesses, if it's a web-based business, at once you're global. That's called born global firms, right? There's nothing to manufacture. Maybe you're servicing, maybe you're doing drop shipping. You're born global at once. You bring the buyers and sellers together. You're just an online website. You're born global. But someone can say that is international marketing, but that is because of the platform you're born global. Okay, let's say if you have now Instagram, some people, a lot of people have, no, I am ordering some bonsai plants from Japan. I'm ordering some bonsai plants from Japan. I like bonsai plants, right? These are crazy things that after you're married, after some time, midlife crisis hits you. So I like bonsai, right? There's a place in Japan that ships in boxes big bonsai plants, right? 30, 40-year-old plants. It's very expensive. So I'm trying to invest in one. So I've been doing a lot of research because you have to take care of it a lot. So it's an Instagram page in Japan. Instagram page. That's it. Born global at once. Right? So after Instagram, I WhatsApp, send the catalog. What do you like? Send video, pay the money, ship it. That's it. I get my freight forwarded and collected. Right? So technically, that is also international marketing. Right? But you can't do that to all kinds of products. Okay? Think about your company. You can't do that. And you can't sell a lot. Okay? You need to have showrooms, you need to have agents, distributor, demonstration, all that. So, but if you're a SME micro, you can start there. Then domestic purchasing is now, we call them buying officers, right? Buying officers. Now, some of the big labels, garments, apparels have buying officers in Sri Lanka. So they do domestic purchasing. So let's say Nike, Victoria's Secret, of course, Nike and Victoria's Secret have joint venture, but there are others like Adidas, I don't know, other kind of brands, labels. They have a buying office in Sri Lanka, Puma, or, New Balance or whatever, right? They'll have a buying office, and the buying office will work with many, right? Hydra Money, MAS, Branding, so many others, and they will give certain quantities and they'll buy. So they have a small buying office. So that's called domestic purchasing. So all you need to do is deal with the buying office. If they like your product, price is good, they buy, and they will export it to wherever they want in the world. So your brand is going international, or sometimes you will sell it without the brand and they'll put their own brand. That also happens, right? Because if you are a large player like Zara, or if you're a department store, okay, then they won't buy under your brand. They will sell it under their own label, but they will buy huge quantities, right? There are Saks Fifth Avenue, there's Zara, even Walmart today buys clothes, right? Even Walmart sells clothes today. So all these guys will have buying officers. That's another way to operate. So all you need to do is connect to that supply chain, connect the suppliers to your supply chain, and you can buy. Then international trading companies and export management companies. So now still we are in the exporting, manufacturing locally, indirect exporting for micro kind of segments. And I don't recommend any of these for your answer, but I have to explain these two. Right? I don't recommend any of these indirect exporting for your answer, but I have to explain it to you before I go into direct exporting. and overseas production strategies. So I have to explain it to you. So international trading companies and export management companies, there's not a very big difference. The biggest difference there is if you are a export management company, that means like company like Stassens in Sri Lanka, export management. Stassens will have local manufacturers, right? And they will find buyers for you. So if you go and speak to Stassens and say, I have cinnamon to sell, then they will say, okay, we'll find a buyer. So export management companies, they have suppliers, they will find buyers globally, right? International trading companies, the other side, they have the buyers, they want suppliers. So they are international. So one of the biggest international trading companies are Sogo Sosha of Japan, right? So they are always looking for suppliers from all over the world. Companies like Body Shop, all the big retailers, they are trying to find suppliers. They're trying to find suppliers from all over the world, right? So that's a international trading company. So they have the buyers. They want suppliers, of course, at a certain quality, at a certain price, and a certain quantity, right? And quality. So they will describe all of those. Then piggybacking is a strategy, guys, where now let's say John Keels. John Keels used piggybacking in Maldives some time ago, right? So I remember when I was in John Keels, back in the day, Elephant House soft drinks was in Maldives. It was in other markets also, India and so on and so forth, right? So Elephant House soft drinks manufactured by John Keels, Elephant House, was in Maldives, and it was very strong in the resorts, EGB, all those things, very, very strong in resorts and Malay and everywhere. So they then had the Elephant House ice creams and the Keels sausages and so on and so forth, the Keels meats. They piggyback ice creams and sausages through the same channel of their successful channel distributors who are buying the Elephant House soft drinks. That's called piggybacking. You use a effective channel right now to introduce new products. You use an effective distribution channel that is working very well and piggyback other products. That's called piggybacking, right? So entrepot operations, I don't think any book has explained. So I have put it there as a strategy because it's based on my research. Entrepot operations is it's a very interesting concept, right? Actually, Hambantota port was supposed to be an entrepot operation. A lot of countries are doing this very successfully. Entrepot operation means basically you have a port, a seaport usually, and then around that port there is an industrial zone, demarcated industrial zone. So you can see so many kind of raw materials, components coming from all over the world, and they assemble it or manufacture it there, and they ship it again. They don't bring it to the country, right? They don't bring it to the country. That's called an entrepot operation. So Hambantota port was supposed to be like that. After that, plans all went wrong and we had to sell it also, right? So now no entrepot, no port whatsoever, right? So it was supposed to be having an industrial zone, and you bring components, parts, raw materials, and you add value to it, and then made in Sri Lanka can be used, stamp can be used because it's actually then made in Sri Lanka, and then you ship it back. You don't sell it to the domestic market, right? So you can do that if your labor is cost effective. You can do that if the country of origin effect is there. And if there are other advantages of your location, the port, it's not too busy, right? So if you have other logistics and so many other things, tax advantages, all that, you can do entreport operations. Very interesting strategy, right? But we lost that opportunity because we sold the port. So these are forms of indirect exporting. Now let's go into more of the strategies that your examiner wants to use. Direct exporting. So direct exporting, there are three sub-strategies: agents, distributors, and company marketing subsidiaries, right? So agents and distributors, you all know what agents are. If you look at Abans, Samsung, Singhagiri in Sri Lanka, Singer in Sri Lanka, they are agents for so many products. Some of them are LG is a distributor, right? Sony, Seedles, Singhagiri, Samsung. So there are so many agents. Sometimes there are multiple agents, multiple distributors, but there is a subtle difference between agents and distributors. One will take title for the goods. One won't take title for the goods, right? So I'll explain that. So if you look at the description, delete this, right? The difference between agents and distributors are, right? So I've given you a small diagram. You can go and look at it like this as well, right? Agents do not take title for the goods. They are paid by results and represent the lowest level of involvement in direct exporting, right? So they are paid by a commission on a commission basis, agents. They don't take title. That's what it means. They don't take title, right? But you'll understand it now. Distributors take title. What do? They differ from agents. They buy the goods. Agents don't buy the goods. They don't take title. If you don't buy the goods, you don't take title. But if you buy the goods, you take title. That means it is yours. That's what it means by not taking title and taking title. When you're buying the goods, it is yours. Here, you're not buying it. You're representing it and selling it for a commission. That means you're an agent. But if you're buying the goods themselves and selling them usually on their own determined prices, that means a distributor will determine the price. I will buy it at whatever price and I will sell it at whatever price I want because I'm buying it. I'm taking title. I'm paying you. Agents, they won't buy it. They work on a commission basis, right? So a lot of people who say sole agents are actually not sole agents. They are maybe distributors. Okay, but they use the word sole agents. Some use the word distributors, sole distributors. In fact, Samsung has so many distributors in Sri Lanka, about 4 distributors. I think Damro, Singer, Singhagiri, and Softlogic, 4 distributors in Sri Lanka, right? Samsung. So you can see, I've done all my research because I'm building my house, right? So distributors, they take title for the goods. They buy goods and they will sell it at their own determined prices. Okay, I hope it's clear. So there's a subtle difference between all these. If you want a very detailed explanation, I told you where to go. I've given you 4 books with advantages, disadvantages, diagrams and all, right? But start with this, then select your 2 strategies. It's easy then you don't have to read 96 pages. So company marketing subsidiary, again, still you're manufacturing locally, okay, because you're on this side. Company marketing subsidiary is now you go and put a marketing small office overseas. So let's say if you are whatever company, you can create a small marketing office overseas. Still you're not manufacturing overseas. But then that guy who's 4 or 5 people there will coordinate the distributors in that market. So that's called a direct exporting company marketing subsidiary. Still, you're not manufacturing overseas. You're manufacturing locally, but you have a company marketing office overseas, right? So depending on the market, you'll have to have for that company also to go and create a company there. Sometimes you'll have to have 50%. If you're going to Dubai or something like that, you'll have to get a share. You have to get a local player. You can't go and own 100%, right? So that depends on the country's various requirements. Now, overseas production. Overseas production means you are now getting into high level of involvement, high level of control. You probably have tested the waters well. All these have worked. Now you want to go big. You really want to compete with the players in that market. So you want to take a bigger risk with bigger reward. Right? You have figured out your repatriation of profits also. You figured out all the implementation issues also. Now you want to manufacture overseas. So high level of commitment, high risk, high reward. You're a big player now. So if you look at players like MAs have done this, they manufacture overseas, right? They have plants overseas in Bangladesh, even in the USA, they have plants, right? Right in Florida. Then MAS is one company that has done it. Damro is another company has done that. They have manufacturing plants in India, right? So few examples. I don't think there are many brands who have manufacturing facilities overseas, who are manufacturing overseas, Sri Lankans, right? But there might be some. I just gave you two examples. But I know of a lot of people who are using direct exporting and indirect export, right? So now, Sparsilon is another company who is in about 150 markets, but they are using without direct investment strategy, not with direct investment, right? So we will go into this, right? Is it clear so far? Can you give me a thumbs up? Is it clear? If it's clear, otherwise you can type if you have any questions. Is it clear, guys? Can you say yes or no? Is it clear? Is it clear? Whatever we have been discussing. I'm just going on and on others. I need some feedback. Okay. Right. So there are some questions coming. I'll take it at the end. Good. So let me explain this to you. Good. Right. So now overseas production has two types: without investment and with investment. Please understand. So without investment, also you can manufacture your product overseas. The strategies are licensing, franchising, and contract manufacturing. So licensing and manufacturing sounds alike, and it is very similar. If you look at franchising operations like KFC, McDonald's, Subway, Taco Bell, all those are franchising operations. Licensing, you have Visa, Master, American Express, Windows. They're all licenses. Okay. So there is a subtle difference between licensing and franchising. Mainly, the main difference is a legal difference, but there is also another difference. I will show you in one slide what is the difference between licensing and franchising. But licensing and franchising, guys, is a way that you can really, really grow fast. If you look at Sparsilon strategy is 150 markets. Their strategy is licensing and franchising. So I don't know if they use licensing or franchising, but they're using one of them, right? So what they do is they will have a brand guidelines. So if you are interested to sell Sparsilon products, they will have brand guidelines. So let's say someone approached them. If you go onto their website, you can approach them, right? If you go onto their website, there is a place where if you're from overseas, you can approach Sparsilon, right? And let's say if you're from Morocco, right? You approach Sparsilon on their website and say, we want to distribute your products in Morocco. Then they will say, okay, can you tell us how much you can invest, how many outlets you're going to open? Here's the licensing or the franchising fee. Can you pay this? If you are interested, let's discuss. So then they will say, okay, 100 million, we are interested, right? 4 stores will have 100 million in Morocco. Then what do they do? Sparsilon will say, here are the brand guidelines. Go through the brand guidelines. If you are okay, per store, here's the cost. Our guys will come there and fix all the equipment. You can't play around with the brand guidelines. The look and feel of Sparsilon must be the same look and feel like Colombo. You can't play around with the brand guidelines. So that's why if you go into their 145, 50 odd outlets in Japan or Singapore or wherever, right? They're in godforsaking places now, right? So many countries, can't even count. They're very successful, right? So they go and have the same, sometimes only the people are different. Sometimes in some markets, you have Sri Lankans also, they have employed Sri Lanka, Sri Lankans are everywhere. But they have, in Japan, for instance, when I went to Shinjuku, there is a Sparsilon there next to all the luxury brands, Gucci, Prada, all the luxury brands. Sparsilon is also there. And there are Japanese staff selling Sparsilon. So it's very nice feeling. Very nice feeling. Sri Lankan brand. When Japanese staff sells Sparsilon. So very nice feeling. Right? So that is there in so many countries now. So they have grown really fast through franchising and licensing. There's a nice story about Colonel Sanders, the guy who founded KFC. He wanted to commit suicide at 70 years because he was poor. Colonel Sanders, out of poverty, he wanted to commit suicide because he was so poor. And he was good at a chicken recipe. And he put these ideas together. He opened one store and then he did well in that store and someone helped him franchise his product. I don't need to tell you what KFC is today, right? Global brand, many, many markets, so many outlets, right? All it has is a recipe and brand guidelines. A recipe and brand guidelines. And they have franchised their product in so many markets. By the time he was 80, he was a billionaire. In 10 years, he was a billionaire and his brand was all over the world. That's why he's a legend. He's a legend in the world of franchising. Okay, because he made it so fast globally through franchise. So if you want to grow your brand really fast, I have a lot of friends who have left Sri Lanka and who are good marketers today, who are building franchise brands all over the world. So sometimes they are Sri Lankan products. Some people are doing Sri Lankan coffee, Sri Lankan tea, Sri Lankan food, right? Curries and spices and things like that, right? And they're franchising it. Supply chain is there, right? So I go through the difference between franchising and licensing. I have a slide on that. Contract manufacturing. So contract manufacturing, guys, is more subcontracting kind of operation. So again, what you do is you go into a market, you don't manufacture, you manufacture there, but you don't market, you subcontract your manufacture. So you subcontract it to someone in that market, and they have to make it according to your specifications. So they subcontract it and someone else manufacture it, or maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people manufacture it and give it to you, right? And maybe you brand it, label it, whatever it is, and do the finishes. But you are still manufacturing overseas. You're still manufacturing overseas, but through subcontracting arrangements, right? That's called contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing. Then with direct investment, now you are investing. Now you are investing, right? Assembly operations means you buy components from many countries or from that domestic market that you are going into, right? You buy many components and you assemble them, right? So there are, I think this in Sri Lanka also, we had some of the cars, SsangYong or whatever it is, some Chinese car was assembled here, right? Some brand was assembled here some time ago. I don't know, this operating now, right? So, which means for tariff benefits, you don't import the entire vehicle, you import components, and then it's cheaper. You import components and then you assemble it, right? So you bring components to that market you want to go into from various markets, and then you assemble it, and then you sell it. That's called assembly operations. But since you're assembling, there is a cost involved, right? Therefore, it's with direct investment. Joint ventures are very simple. Joint ventures means A and B get together and create C. A and B get together and you create C. So C will have 50-50, 49, 51, depends on the local rule of engagement of Company Act. So A and B get together and create C. So Nike, Victoria's Secret, Victoria's Secret and MAS have created a joint venture in Sri Lanka, right? They have a joint venture. So joint venture is two companies get together and create a third company. Strategic alliances don't have an equity partnership, right? That is, I will help you, you help me. I will scratch your back, you scratch my back. So it's an agreement. There's no equity stake. A and B get together, right? There is no equity involved. A and B get together. Strategic alliance. We have an agreement. We have an understanding. For 10 years, McDonald's burgers will be sold inside Disneyland. And Disneyland characters will be used in the Happy Meal of McDonald's. Now, that is a strategic alliance. There's no equity stake. There's no, okay, McDonald's must own 10%, Disney must own 10%. No. It's a strategic alliance. It's a mutually beneficial business agreement that you have, long-term agreement. It's an alliance between two parties. That's called a strategic alliance. Now, if there are more people in this alliance, more companies, more than two people, it's called a consortium. Consortium. Right? Now, some of you have seen this airlines. Now, One World is a consortium. Sri Lankan Airlines is part of One World, and there are many alliances who are part of One World. It's a consortium. Then you get Hilton Honors, Marriott Bonvoy. Marriott Bonvoy has so many hotels, and you can redeem points, you get free upgrades. So you are loyal to the Bonvoy members, right? So that's a consortium. Strategic alliances are between two parties. More than two parties become a consortia or consortium. Mergers and acquisitions means merger is two parties get together and create one company. Acquisition means one player buys over the other player. Right? At the end, there will be one player. Greenfield development is you go to that market, you build from scratch. You see the market as a green field. That's why it's called greenfield. You see the market as a large green field, and you start from scratch. You cut the foundation, you put the walls, and you create one by one. Then you hire people. So it takes a long time. But greenfield development is good if you have deep pockets, large manufacturing companies, right? Large, very big projects, oil, mining, things like that. You can enter through greenfield. That means you have to go and invest from scratch. So it takes a long time, right? Because you're hiring people, you're building, you're taking the. Now I know there's a Japanese school that is coming down Kirimandala Mouth, right? Down Kirimandala Mouth, there's a Japanese school coming. Japanese school, yeah, right? They are creating an international school. So greenfield development, because they have been building it now for the past, I think, so many years. Past 3 years, economic crisis, COVID, everything, they're still building. So I think maybe another 2 years they'll take to build. So you can see 5 years still they are building, right? I don't know. Then they have to hire staff, they have to get the furniture, maybe another 1 year. You understand? So it takes a long time for greenfield development, but it's a massive building and it's all theirs. It's purpose built. It's purpose built. That's called greenfield development. Okay. Now let's see whether you understand this. Now, if Walmart is coming to Sri Lanka, okay, you can unmute and answer, or you can type. Okay. Walmart is coming to Sri Lanka. What strategy do you think they'll use? There's no right or wrong answer, but some answers are better than others. If Walmart is coming to Sri Lanka, what strategy do you think they'll use? What market entry strategy you think they'll use? Can you please type? Walmart coming to Sri Lanka. Any other answers? How many of you been? How many of you been to Walmart? Can you type yes if you have been to a Walmart? Yes, if you have been to a Walmart. Right? Okay, few of you have been to a Walmart. Yeah, so I am only in agreement with one answer, that is Danushka's answer. Right? Danushka's answer, which is Walmart, if they're coming to Sri Lanka, they will look at Cargill's 500 outlets. They'll look at Keel's 150 outlets. They'll look at Sparsilon. All 1,000 outlets together and say, how much can we'll buy all of you? Tell us how much you, how much you'll sell the whole thing at once. Guys, Walmart is the largest retailer in the world. It's a hypermarket. It's the world's largest retail operator. It's huge. It's huge. It's big. The Waltons are the richest family in the world. Okay. The Waltons are the richest family in the world. Right? Yes, Flipkart in India is owned by Walmart. Yes. That's because they don't allow, India doesn't, it's a closed economy. They don't allow Walmart to come in. Right? So they come with another brand. But that is also mainly web-based and things like that with delivery and all that. They don't have brick and mortar outlets. But I think if Walmart is coming, they'll either come through Greenfield, but Greenfield, they won't sit and waste time in a small market like Sri Lanka because our GDP is not high, a bankrupt country. They won't waste time in Greenfield and take 4 or 5 years to build hyper supermarkets. So we are not a very big market, right? They will just ask how much and buy. And they buying 10, 15 stores not enough. 500 Cargills will buy all 500. How much? That kind of thing. If they come to Sri Lanka, that's what they will do because they don't. Then they will remove all the boards, put their board, bring their best practice, and sell. Right? Because they are huge. They have deep pockets. So, like I said, there is no right or wrong answer, but the best answer is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. So, what do you think if IKEA comes to Sri Lanka? Right? If IKEA comes to Sri Lanka, IKEA furniture. IKEA comes to Sri Lanka, what do you think they'll use? If IKEA comes to Sri Lanka, what strategy do you think they'll use? Can you type some answers? Think about it. If IKEA comes to Sri Lanka, now you're scared. What do you think IKEA will use? You can answer, okay? Don't worry about it. Yeah, IKEA coming to Sri Lanka, in my view, they will, they might do greenfield development because they might have only one store here in Sri Lanka. They won't have more than one because the market is very small. So, and IKEA store is a very big store, and it is away from the city. So it's a very, very huge store away from the city, like somewhere in Panadura, right? Where they have a massive store, huge store with acres and acres of land. So they can't find it in Colombo. And they might do greenfield development. Problem is they can't have a strategic, they can't have a joint venture also because these Damro stores are too small. Damro stores are like very, very small stores. So if you, next time when you go visit IKEA, it's a huge store. The Damro store must be 1/10 the size of their storage at the back. Their storage at the back, they have massive storage at the back. Everything is stored at the back because they sell knockdown furniture, right? In pallets. That's why it's very cheap. Damro doesn't do that. Damro sell finished furniture. So very difficult to have. There are two different business models, right? So you can't work with someone else because their business model is, IKEA business model is knockdown furniture, right? It's not finished furniture, knockdown furniture. You go home and assemble it yourself. And a lot of components, a lot of variety, a lot of colors. And the buyer himself, after you pay for it, need to go to the back of IKEA and find the storage, find the exact place, massive storage. And then you get huge carts and you have to put the knockdown palleted version in your cart and take it to your car. That's why you get it at a very ridiculous price. Damro is expensive, right? Yeah. um, what else? Right? So I think you get the drift. You can now read through this. You have to pick the best two strategic options. Now, you don't need to ask me, okay, so is this the best two options or this? No, don't be scared. You do the answer and I will check your work. Because you can justify everything. So shall we now look at the question, right? Task 3C. These are the books. Like I told you, please reference Hollenson. But these other books are very good, all talking about market entry strategies. I have not put my book here, but you can reference it as well. So the question is 750 words. Assessment criteria is clear. 15 marks, critically appraised. So you have to be critical. You have to be critical. Two market entry strategies. Don't write more than two. Relevant to your chosen organization. And how these two can be implemented by your chosen organization to achieve its objectives. Now, this second part, last part of the question. So I'm going to start. Why? Because first you need to know what are your objectives. What are your objectives? What are my company's objectives? So you need to look at the market entry strategies given your objectives. So you need to bring in the conversation of your, what are your objectives? What are the entry strategies? And those entry strategies are fulfilling these objectives. So do you want to earn market share fast? Do you want to grow really, really fast? If you want to grow really, really fast, then you have to look at franchising and licensing. Greenfield development won't get you there. Either joint ventures, strategic acquisitions, licensing, franchising. Really, really fast. Tuck, you put the contract going. Right? Or assembly operations. Or contract manufacturing. So you can't go into greenfield. Okay. So if you want to also earn a lot of market share over a period of time, then you can look at other options. So do you want to earn high gross net profits, profit after tax, profit before tax? Then there are different methods that you might employ. Do you want to break even fast? Do you want to recover your money fast? Or do you want to have organic growth over a period of time and make sure you launch your brand properly? What are the revenue targets, sales targets? Is your focus on market coverage before others enter into the market? You want to cover the entire market. So let's say in 10 years, you want to have 100 distributors in India. So market coverage. So number of distributors, access points, what's the brand penetration you want in that market? So these are all objectives. Do you want to list the company, have an IPO, initial public offering, so that you can raise capital from shareholders within that market? Then you don't need to invest from your domestic market. You can raise capital from that market. So do you want to list the company in that local stock exchange? Many companies do this. So then do you want your share price to appreciate? What are the ROIs, the ROCs, earnings per shares, shareholder returns? Do you want good shareholder returns very fast? So then what strategies are you going to use? Do you want a large number of customers? Do you want a large number of customers? Because you want to build economies of scale. You want large number of customers within the first 5 years. Airtel wanted to do that in Sri Lanka. They wanted 50% of the market share within 3 years. They tried to kill Dialog, but they ended up, killing themselves. So you have to get your objectives right. What are your objectives? And your marketing strategy must support that. Quantity, number of units sold. Would you have any other societal objectives, environmental objectives, brand awareness related objectives? What are your objectives? What is it that you want to achieve? So you need to know this first. Of course, you don't need to go and ask the company, but you can assume this is what I want to achieve. These are my objectives of entering this market. Maybe there's a trade agreement, so the trade agreement is valid for the next 5 years. Maybe the new government comes in, they'll change it. So now I have 5 years to go and capitalize. Maybe there's low tariff. Maybe that market is giving first 3 years low tariff structure or zero tax policy. So you have 3 years to go and really recover your money. So there can be different objectives. So you have to think a little strategically. This depends on your company, depends on the market you want to go to. So you have to have a strategic conversation in this. That's a beauty, right? So you have to think, what are my company's objectives? Why am I going international? What am I trying to achieve? What are my goals? What are my objectives? Right? So please pay attention. Those are areas that you score marks. Or are you going international to complement your domestic market? Or are you going to international? You're first going to Malaysia before you go into Singapore. Singapore is your end market, high per capita. But before that, you go into Thailand or Malaysia. So as a springboard, you're using that market. So what is your strategy? What are your objectives? What are you trying to achieve? Right? So I have given you a structure of the answer. Now the examiner has given you on the last page some strategies that you can use or you should use Examiner says direct exporting can be one option, which means 3 strategies: agents, distributors, company, marketing, subsidiaries. We looked at that. Licensing is another option. Franchising is another option. Joint ventures are another option. Wholly owned subsidies or greenfield development, same thing, is another option. Mergers or acquisitions, another option. Of course, there are other strategies that I have given you, but these are some examples that the examiner has given you. So you can select 2 from this, or if there's something else that best fits, you can use that as well. It's not wrong. Examiner is giving some examples. Doesn't mean that you can't not use the others. Cite the author and use something out of this. It's fine. No problem. Right? So I took you through this, which will help you prioritize which strategies that you want to use. First, you need to ask your question, am I going to manufacture overseas or export from my domestic market? Is it indirect exporting or direct exporting? If I'm manufacturing overseas, is it with direct investment or without direct investment? Right? So I have put here some screenshots from those books I've given you. This is not my diagram. This is from the other book. But it also talks about all these market entry strategies: licensing, franchising, joint ventures, wholly owned subsidies, assembly operations, direct, indirect. But I have put this in a better diagram, I think, and given you, right? But I'm showing you some of the books as well. And I have given you a very focused explanation for each. Direct exporting, you might want to use. Licensing, franchising, contract manufacturing are all good options. Licensing and franchising, there's a difference. I told you, I'll explain to you the difference. So franchising is governed by company law. Examples are McDonald's, Subway, KFC, Pizza Hut, 7-Eleven. Licensing examples are Microsoft, Amex, Visa, Master, governed by contract law. Royalty payments, both pay. Territorial rights, franchisee can't sell similar products in the same area. Licensing can sell similar products in the same area. Control, franchisor exercises control over the business process. Licensee has control over the use of the intellectual property, but does not have control over the license of the business or the licensee's business, right? So training and support provided. Here they provide it in the start. After that, they charge. Fee structure standard. Here you have to negotiate, but here by region it is standardized. But here it is not standardized. You have to negotiate. Process needs ongoing assistance. Licensing involves one-time transfer of IP rights. So you can see the subtle difference between franchising and licensing. So I go into these also. I explained this before. Assembly operations, joint ventures, strategic alliances or consortia, mergers and acquisitions, greenfield development. Joint venture is A and B get together and create C. Strategic alliance is a non-equity joint venture. It's an understanding. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Merger is this, get together and create one company. Acquisition is, again, one big company buys into another company. Right? I've used some diagrams there to explain. And of course, you can talk about exit strategies in the conclusion of your answer. There are some diagrams that you can use, like this is the level of involvement. Some strategies are high level of involvement. Some strategies are low level of involvement. Right? So exporting, low level of involvement. Overseas production starts increasing your high level of involvement. So there are diagrams that you can use. These are also from the book to explain the advantages, pros and cons. And then in the book also, guys, It clearly gives you advantages and disadvantages like this, but don't copy them. You have to understand the advantage and disadvantage and write it in your terms. You have to write it in your words. Apply it to the organization, contextualize, understand that you're a consultant writing to the board of directors, not a student writing to the examiner, not a student explaining theory to the examiner. You're a consultant writing to the board of directors of the company. So if you look at in the same books that I've given you, 4 books I've given you, this is very detailed, full list of advantages and disadvantages of each market entry strategy. This is what you need to amplify and explain for the chosen 2 strategic options. Then there are diagrams that you can apply. Let's say you select franchising. So this diagram, for instance, is from Hollenson's book. That Hollenson talks about direct franchising model, indirect franchising, right? So where the host country and the franchisee has a direct relationship. Communication happens both ways. But in an indirect franchising model, the host home country directs with a master franchisee, sub-franchisee. And then there are smaller franchisees that deal with that sub-franchise, right? Because these are in large markets like India, China, Indonesia, large markets with large population, large geographies. You have to create master franchises. So diagrams and theories like this, you can apply and use from the books I have given you if you have selected those strategic market entry strategic options. Then there are some factors to consider before deciding on market entry strategy. This is also important slide because you can use some of these terms in your answer. So you have to look at the market size and the growth potential before you enter a market. Detailed analysis. What is the financial commitment, financial resources of the company before you enter the market? The level of market involvement, high or low, which will tell you whether you should manufacture overseas or export. The skills and the abilities of the management. Do you have the competencies, the skills, the people, HR, to handle those markets and the market entry? Otherwise, don't use it, just export. Competitive rivalry, Porter's 5 forces. Tariff and non-tariff barriers in the market. All countries will have tariff and non-tariff barriers, red tape, tariff barriers, political problems, approvals, legal bribes, legal constraints. Legal constraints because sometimes in international marketing, they don't practice the same law. There are different types of law, code law, common law, Islamic law, Sharia law, so many types of laws governing each country, right? So legal constraints are very important because you're getting to agreements and you're opening companies, listing companies. So you have to understand the legal ramifications. Infrastructure limitations, logistics, trademark, patent protection. Sometimes you go into international market, someone will just copy your stuff. The timing of the move, production costs in host country, market development costs, advertising, company size and international experience, level of risk, control, flexibility, country risk, demand and uncertainty, direct and indirect trade barriers, product complexity. So these are some of the factors you must consider before entering a market and determining which market entry strategy. So you can use these in your answers. I can't give you a direct answer because it's not a case study. All of you have selected different companies. If this was a case study, I would have selected 4 options and I would have given you to write 2 out of those 4 options. But I can't do that because all of you have selected different companies. So you have to now improvise. You know what market entry strategies now are. Justify the best two strategies to achieve your company objectives. Simple, 750 words. You start with an introduction. Small introduction, maybe 40 to 50 words. Why should your company select the most appropriate market entry strategies? So you can use some citations. All those 4 or 5 books that I gave you today start with why is entering markets important? Sometimes you have to enter markets because your domestic market is saturated, you're penetrated, you're the market leader in the domestic market. So now you have to look at entering new markets with market entry strategies. So you have to explain why. So that's a good introduction. Then critical appraisal of 2 market entry strategies to achieve your objectives. Now here you can either use a table, guys, with 2 or 3 columns. You can rate it and rank it, give it a high, medium, low, rate it and rank it if you want. Or you can stay within 2 columns where you talk about the market entry strategies, advantages and disadvantages, and then you talk about how it achieves your objectives. Or you can use subheadings without using a table in the body of the answer. You can use subheadings and write it in paragraph form. So let's say you select direct exporting, then you'll talk about agents, distributors, company, marketing subsidiary, where you'll discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the chosen modes of entry, give examples, contextualize, and application of industry is very, very important. Then you'll apply to how it will achieve your company's objectives. Right? So you need to justify. So you can select direct exporting, licensing, franchising, joint ventures, greenfield, mergers, acquisitions, strategic alliances, which are not here, you can use, right? You can use contract manufacturing, assembly operations, company marketing subsidiary, that is already here. So you can use so many options. First, read the literature and find out which is the best option. You don't need to ask me because you can justify it. That's the second part, justification of the 2 options. So whilst you're putting your table, justify it. You don't need to justify it in the end. Justify it whilst you're writing those 2 selected options. Now, to justify the 2 options, why is these 2 options the best options? So you're going to talk about the advantages. Why is greenfield development the best for this company? Why is franchising the best and not licensing? Then you end up discussing the advantages and disadvantages of both. Right? So you need to then go into the subtle differences between franchising and licensing. And use diagrams in the books that I've given you. You can discuss the risk versus reward diagram. So many diagrams are there. Be creative, be original. I don't want all of your answers to look the same, all of your answers to select the same 2 strategies. There are many ways to approach this answer because all of you have selected different companies. Apply the factors to consider before deciding on market entry strategies. Right? That is this. So you can apply all these factors as well to justify why you have selected these 2 options. And in conclusion, you can discuss the importance of determining an exit strategy. Divesting, liquidation, asset disposal, and how do you repatriate profits as a contingency plan. Okay. Right. So that is task 3C. I think you have a lot of thinking to do. 750 words. So maximum 2 pages, 2.5 pages. So 750 words. Your biggest problem here is again word count. So you can write 10% extra, no problem. Present your work well. We will meet on Friday for task 1A. Friday at 9 p.m. Keep it free. We will meet on Friday for task 1A. Before Friday, I want to see a few things. I want to see your task 3 completed. Don't worry, it need not be 100% perfect. It need not be 100% perfect. There can be mistakes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. When you're sending me your work, guys, at once, don't try to make it the most perfect answer. follow the guidelines, right? Then put your cover pages. Now that you have finished task 3, put your references, citations, cover pages, word counts by subtask. Task 3B, I want to see your word count. Task 3C, I need to see your word count in the cover page. Then I want to see before Friday, your 5 days, no, not 5 days, 2 days, today's Tuesday. I want to see at least 3 to 4 pages of your strategic audit. Task 1A is to do with the environment, macro, micro, right? It's very simple. So at least 3 pages of your strategic audit up to comparative analysis. Finish it and email it to me in PDF form before Friday. And we will discuss 4th case study, task 1A on Friday. So we are going very well. And don't worry, task 1A, I'm going to give you about 60 A-grade answers to benchmark. This one, unfortunately, there's no A-grade answers for you to benchmark. But the others, all other questions there, so don't worry. Don't worry, okay? So another one point I want to tell you is how feedback will work, guys. Now, when you email me your work on a weekly basis, I'm going to look at your work. Don't WhatsApp your work to me. I don't check things on WhatsApp. I need to read it. So please email it to me. And when you email it to me, give me 48 hours to reply. After you email me, don't WhatsApp me saying, I email this. You don't need to remind me. You can do that if you have not heard from me in 48 hours. I need to manage my inbox now. Okay. So email it to me. You know my email address, lewie@ccpm.lk. Email it to me. And if I don't reply you within 48 hours, then you can WhatsApp me. But usually I reply within 24 hours. Then one more thing about feedback, guys. If you have done your work and if you're on the right track with the subtask, because we are finishing subtasks. If you have done your work and if you are on the right track, I will tell you few changes, or sometimes I'll say, okay, good, now let's start this. So that doesn't mean that I don't have any changes with your work. What I'm doing is I want you to finish your assignment fast. Because how feedback works is I need to look at your pass mark of 50. If I now only look at your task 3A and B and keep improving it until you get full marks there, and you don't end up doing 3C and the audit and 3A and B, then you're not going to pass. So my job is to make sure, are you going on the right track? Is your answer going to attract a pass mark? Right. Okay. Now finish the next task. So I will then get you to finish the next task. But don't think I don't have any changes on your work. After you finish your assignment, I'm going to spend time with you when all tasks are done. One-to-one feedback, one-to-one feedback. That is where you see the bad side of me. Right? I'm going to argue with you. I'm going to argue with you. You're going to argue with me. And I'm going to ask you questions like, what are you saying here? I can't understand what you're. So I'm like the examiner then. I'm like the board of directors. You're a consultant, right? I say, hey, what are you saying? I can't understand. What is this? Doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to have arguments with you. Remember, healthy arguments. Don't hate me, okay? I am supposed to critically evaluate your work now. So I can't do it right now, because if we do it right now, we will not finish the assignment. And we will keep only improving one task. But when you have everything, I need to also look at the interconnectedness of all tasks. So don't expect me to let you win a world prize on one subtask and fail the assignment, right? That is, operation is successful, but the patient dies. Doctor is happy, operation is successful. Right? Heart transplant was done, operation is successful, but the patient died next day. So no point. So I am interested in operation is successful, patient has to live. So therefore, if you are completely out of context and you are doing something else that I don't think you now should go to the next task, then I will say, hey, stop, don't go to the next task. Perfect this and send it to me again. Here Here are the few things you need to look at. So that is how feedback is going to work. And the way I'm going, entire next month, we should have 2 to 3 feedback sessions. Ideally, one face-to-face feedback session also we can do. If you can come to CCBM, we will do that as well. Otherwise, don't worry, we'll do it online. So then we will look at your work in detail, critical evaluation of your assignment. And that's when I'm going to really give you some arguments, and I'm going to look at you and tell you, I feel you are only going to score so much marks. Now, here's what you're required to do. So that conversation we need to have after you finish all tasks. Okay, guys. Any questions? Anything I have not answered? Any questions? Anything to clarify? Anything to clarify?
Excuse me, sir. Small question on 3C, the one
Yes.
we just did. So is it okay? So if the company we have selected, and then regarding its approach, if we explain an approach that they have already adopted?
No, Puta. Then you are doing an assignment, no?
Okay. Okay,
Then
sir,
the
got it.
examiner
Yeah.
will phrase, then the command word will start the word explain.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
Then you're not a consultant, no. Then you're a student. But here you're a consultant. That's why now these are the things when I look at your work, I'll say you're giving me theory, you're explaining. I don't want an explanation. I'm the chairman of the company. I have hired you. I paid you 20 million to give me your opinion. Be critical about it. You're not adding any value. That's a conversation we're going to have later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ask that question, right?
Got it, sir. Thank
You
you.
have to, you have to think within your role. You're a consultant. So, but it's okay. Like you can make these mistakes now. So I'm going to catch all of them later when we do our feedback. Good. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, hi.
Please, sir, I want to know if I can use one company for all the assignments for
Anthony,
CDC,
you're from where?
CEC.
Anthony, you're from Africa or where are you from?
I'm from Africa. I'm from Africa, but I'm in Dubai.
Okay. Yeah, you can. It's not a problem as long as you are disciplined, because the problem is you have to get a Turnitin report. And now I'll do a session on Turnitin a little later. You can get multiple Turnitin reports, by the way. So now, if you are disciplined not to self-plagiarize, then you can use your own work. But don't self-plagiarize also. So that's why I say don't use it, because you're not disciplined. It's very difficult. Even if I use the same company for all three, it's very difficult not to talk about the same thing in another assignment. So then you get self-plagiarized. So my recommendation is for you to stay under 10% on your similarity. So that's the problem. So, but having said that, there are students who have used the same company and they take the first Turnitin report. Okay, CDC is high, GMD is okay, CEC okay. Then they have to bring it down, bring the CDC down. So, but then you have to finish your assignment at least 10 days before. You have to finish all 3 assignments and run the first Turnitin. So those, if you do it on the last day, then you have to submit. No choice.
Okay, so because this is really confusing me. I don't know how to use three different companies. One to write, I have to select a CDC one company, CEC one company, and GM2. I don't really understand. I'm Googling. I'm doing Google. I'm Googling, researching about company in Sri Lanka when I'm not there. So I don't know if I can also use company in Dubai here. Better for me. I don't know.
You can. Since you're overseas student, you can use even African companies, Dubai. No, there's no restriction. Okay. There is no restriction. You can use any company in the world. You can use any company. Why I ask our students, the majority, 98% are Sri Lankans, to use Sri Lankan companies, because they have some level of understanding of the Sri Lankan company. So you select whatever company you are. It's not wrong. I told you, positive marking. As long as you have convinced the board of directors, but don't go and use Apple and,
No. Yeah.
Netflix and things like that. Then it becomes a superficious kind of Silicon Valley company like Tesla and all that, don't select.
Okay, so it's better to use different companies for each assignment.
I think it is a better approach.
Okay, okay, thank you, sir. Okay.
Good. Any
Thank
other
you, sir.
question? Yeah. Any other questions? So you have something to think about. You know what to do. You have to put pen to paper, type. First, read everything. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the process. Okay? Process of knowledge. Enjoy. Read. Connect. Then you can connect the dots and start writing. Good night.
Okay, good night, sir.
Good night. Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Just not 6.